Well, good evening, folks. It is 6 o'clock, and I'll call the Missoula City Council meeting of August 23rd, 2021 to order. This is a meeting of the Missoula City Council conducted in the Zoom webinar format. You've seen some instructions on how to participate on the screens up before this meeting, and further instructions are on the city's website. We have all council members present except for Mr. Von Lossberg, Ms. West at the moment, and Mr. Contos. And I don't see Ms. Becerra either at the moment. But we will keep an eye out for those folks. We weren't anticipating a few of those folks to be missing this evening, so we'll adjust as we move forward. We have minutes of our last meeting, and those will be approved unless there are corrections. Seeing none, we will move on to our schedule of committee meetings. Ms. Levying.
Thank you, Mayor Engen. Hang on just a moment. Let me share my screen and show that committee schedule. Here we go. Alrighty. City Council is scheduling committees for this coming week, August 25th, on Wednesday. And here we go. This is what we're going to talk about. The Parks and Conservation Committee will meet from 9 o'clock to 10 a.m. There'll be an informational presentation on the greenhouse gas emissions inventory report. Administration and Finance Committee meets from 12:25 to 12:50. There's some assessments as well as a contract. Public Works Committee will meet from 11:35 in the morning to 12:20. There's a bid award, an agreement, and a variance on their agenda. And then Public Safety and Health will round out the day from 12:35 to 1:20. There's a grant application and an update from the health department on the agenda for that committee meeting. Just like this meeting, all of the city council committee meetings are being held as a Zoom webinar. And in order to attend, you can Google the city of Missoula. Google is for your friend. City of Missoula will be right there at the top of your search results. And if you click that and go to the city's main page here, I'll share screen and show what I'm doing here. So when you get on the city's main homepage, if you click this meetings button that's right here in the center of the page, right below the beautiful picture of our city in the spring, that'll take you to Agenda Central for the city, and you'll see a big calendar, and it has all of our public meetings, including all of those committee meetings that I just read off on this coming Wednesday. And each committee meeting has an agenda that's attached, and the information to join that meeting is right here on the top of the agenda. So we look forward to seeing all of you in committees this week. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Levying. Any changes to that committee schedule? Seeing none, I'll note for the record that Ms. Becerra and Ms. West have joined us, and we'll move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on the agenda this evening. And if you raise your hand in the attendees, I will call on you for general public comment. Ask that you keep your remarks to around 3 minutes. And Mr. Hunt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just want to briefly comment on the matter of great public interest concerning the young man who died from a gunshot wound following police chase. And of course, there was a small protest demonstration downtown. I couldn't make that, but I was very confused and concerned by the contradictory comments I heard coming from Your Honor and from other sources regarding this. It was stated that the dash cam and body cam videos could not be shown even to the family. The justification for this was that, quote, wide dissemination, unquote, of the videos could taint the memories of witnesses. These family members aren't witnesses, Mr. Mayor. They are bereaved family members of someone who died. And this is a matter of great public interest. Showing the family members the dash cam videos of the events that culminated in the death of their son is hardly wide dissemination of the video. It's simply showing it to them, showing them something more than a still photograph. It was also then stated that the investigation didn't want to influence the investigation, which I understand, which is underway by the Department of Justice, Department of Criminal Investigation. But if that's true, then why is the city continuously and repeatedly leaking information that they have come to the conclusion that is pretty obvious that this young man took his own life? This is called manipulating public opinion, forming public opinion. It's the same kind of ways the governments manufacture consent. Either nothing should be said about it, or there should be something consistent said about it. Not leaking information that there's a conclusion that it was suicide, but refusing to release any other information on the grounds that releasing information would taint the public's opinion. The public's opinion is attempted to be tainted right now by the intentional leaking of information, while at the same time not even letting the family itself view that information. This is engendering, right or wrongly, I'm not saying there's something nefarious going on, but the problem is this is engendering great disrespect and suspicion of the city government, the city police department, and the mayor's office. We don't need that. We need just the opposite. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. I will note that nothing has been leaked. We had agreement from the Department of Criminal Investigation to share the video that they created in an effort to help provide some clarity to the community with regard to the young man's cause of death. And we are simply repeating what they have offered. We're also with the Department of Criminal Investigation's permission, providing all video for viewing to the family. So just a couple of clarifications there. Seeing no additional hands up for public comment, we will move on, folks, to our consent agenda. Items here were approved unanimously in council committees, and we save a little time on Monday evenings by considering these items all at once. Ms. Levying will read the list of consent agenda items aloud, so folks can consider what we're voting and comment as necessary. I'm sorry, I just got a note from the police chief that we have not yet received from permission from DCI to release the video to the family, but we're working on that. So with that, Ms. Levying, the consent agenda.
Tonight's consent agenda has 6 items, and number 1 is to approve claims or accounts payable in the amount of $826,783.17 for checks that are dated tomorrow, August 24th of 2021. Number 2 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the following grant administrations agreements with Truett Consulting, Sci Designs, that's spelled CSCI Designs, like science, and the University of Montana for the National Institute of Health grant-funded project called The Link, collective a collective impact place-based approach to inspiring Montana's next generation healthcare workforce. Number 3 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a 3-year software maintenance renewal agreement with Acela. This is software that we use in managing permitting at the city in the amount of $100,421.21 for fiscal year 22, $103,433.84 for fiscal year 23, and $106,536.86 for fiscal year 2024. Number 4 is to approve a resolution of intention to sell one surplus 2002 Pierce Saber Type 1 fire engine to the Stevensville Rural Fire Department for $42,000. Number 5 is to approve the Herons Landing Subdivision Phase W1 final plat. And finally, the last one is to adopt a resolution of intention to annex and incorporate within the boundaries of the city of Missoula 2 parcels of land as shown on Exhibit A and adjacent to England Boulevard right-of-way located in the south half of Section 7 in Township 13 North, Range 19 West, zoning the property B2-2, which is commercial business zoning district in the city upon annexation, and based on the findings of fact in the staff report, subject to the recommended condition of approval, and setting a public hearing on that matter for September 13th of 2021, and referring this item to the Land Use and Planning Committee after the public hearing for a staff presentation on September 15th of 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Questions or comments from council members? Mr. Ramos?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you please divide the question so we can vote on 5.1 separately due to $5,000 going to Perkins Coie for the arbitration matter of the legal bills for the Mountain Water?
Yes, sir. We can do that. And Ms. Merritt?
Marty, I apologize for not contacting you before the meeting about this, but I will be abstaining from voting on item 5.5. Thanks.
Thank you. And anyone in the audience care to comment on any consent agenda items? Seeing none, we will have a roll call vote on item 5.1.
Okay, on item 5.1 of the consent agenda, hang on just a second here. Alrighty, Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
No.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
No.
West.
Yes.
Okay, hang on just a moment. Would any of you like to change your vote? And I did the roll call in a different window than I usually use, so it's not giving me a tally. I think it passed. Don't need to wait for my tally.
I think it's 8 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 absents, if I was tracking correctly.
Sounds about right.
And Ms. Rabine, a roll call on the balance of the consent agenda.
There we go. On items one, excuse me, on items 2 through 6 of the consent agenda, noting that Merritt is abstaining on number 5, Heron's Landing. Becerra.
Yes.
Harp.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
DeSica.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 10 ayes and 2 absent on items 2 through 4 and number 6, and 9 ayes, 1 abstention, 2 absent on item number 5.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. The consent agenda is approved. We have no comments from agents, from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, or the community forum this evening. We have one special presentation in the form of a proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, whereas the city of Missoula does affirm and acknowledge the harm and hardship caused by drug overdose, and whereas we recognize the purpose of the International Overdose Awareness Day is remembering loved ones lost to overdose and ending the stigma of drug-related deaths. And whereas we resolve to play our part in reducing the toll of overdose in our community, which claimed the lives of more than 1,437 Montana residents between the years 2007 and 2018, with countless more affected forever. And whereas we ask the Missoula community to join us in recognizing International Overdose Awareness Day, as we have seen a sharp increase in overdoses in our country over the last year. And whereas we affirm that the people affected by overdose are our sons and daughters, our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, and deserving of our love, compassion, and support. Now, therefore, I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula and the state of Montana, hereby recognize the 31st day of August 2021 as International Overdose Awareness Day. Continuing on with our agenda, we will move to the public hearing portion of this evening's proceedings. State law and our own council rules set guidelines for inviting community comment in a formal way on a variety of issues, and following a staff report on the single issue this evening, the council and I will invite comment. We typically have been holding these public hearings open for a week during COVID. And in this case, we will do that as well. Our lone public hearing this evening is on the street lighting improvement district assessments for fiscal year 2022. And Ms. Rabine has our staff report.
I do. Marty Rabine, I'm your Legislative Services Director and City Clerk. And every year I bring to City Council for your consideration assessments for street lighting. The city has street lighting districts that are located throughout the city. Every year we levy assessments to pay the electric bills associated with keeping the lights on. The city's road district, number 1, does pay for 10% of the cost of street lighting because it's an acknowledgement of the general benefit of lighting overall to the city, and property owners are assessed the remaining 90%. The city does charge an administrative fee to cover the staff time to bill and process payments. And this year, we do anticipate a 1.5% increase in street lighting district rates from Northwestern Energy. Folks may have noticed that Northwestern has been installing LED lights around the city, and we also realized some savings. So this year's assessment is exactly the same as last year. It will be $368,471. And I'm here to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any questions from council members this evening? Seeing none, and anyone in the audience care to comment? And seeing none there. Oh, I'm sorry. We have Ms. Anderson.
So sorry. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Apologies, I was having some audio troubles earlier. Ms. Rabine, if the as Northwest Energy continues to install LED lights throughout the district and citywide, and those savings accrue, how would that be actualized by the members of the district? in this year, it's the assessment is the same, but if there were substantial savings throughout the term over the next year, how would that be? How would they?
Well, the resolution levying this year's assessments does direct the finance office and the public works department to do an analysis of the savings that we're realizing as a result of the LED installation, and looking at where there may be gaps. The Public Works Department did a brief analysis of the coverage of our lighting districts and found that from house to house and block to block, the coverage is not consistent. So they want to do an analysis of if any of the savings can further the installation of fixtures as well as just light LED bulbs. And the finance office is being directed to take a look at any of the cash balance savings and which districts those might be distributed to also further the same goal. Ultimately, reduced energy rates can provide more services and or reduce the amount of the assessments. And so we're looking for staff to present that analysis early next year prior to doing assessments for fiscal year 23.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. I appreciate all that information.
And with that, this public hearing will remain open until August 30th of 2021. We will move on to items for final consideration. These items have had a public hearing and council will be taking final action this evening based on motions made and deliberations and any additional comment from the folks we serve. Ms. Griffin, do you have an update? Our single item for consideration is the fiscal year 2022 budget and all that goes with that. And Ms. Griffin, I believe, has some updates for us and for the public as we proceed.
Thank you, Mayor. I do, and a short presentation. I am Lee Griffin, the Finance Director for the city. And final consideration on the FY22 budget is what City Council is doing this evening. I wanted to just do a little brief run through of what we've been doing so far. On July 7th, the mayor presented the FY22 executive budget to council. This included the baseline changes to department budgets, new requests, and the community investment program. Then we received quite a few presentations from departments. Subsequently, a few updates have happened to the mayor's executive budget. This includes $15,700 for an environmental health specialist, the addition of a transportation planner, $840,000 of park district fund balance. So this is fund balance cash on hand that they have for specific priorities that are outlined in a Parks and Rec Committee presentation. Also approving future park district bonding totaling $2.3 million. And this would be bonding that would cover between 20 and 30 years for Karis Park improvements at $700,000, improvements to our aquatics facilities of $375,000, the Bonner Park band shell court and other improvements of $105,000, and tennis course replacements for $1.3 million. These documents have all been updated on our website. If folks want to go there, I do want to let folks know if City Council makes some amendments or adjustments this evening, we will do our best to get the rest of these documents updated over the next couple of days. Another item that is part of the mayor's executive budget is the city budget all funds. I just want to draw folks' attention here, and I'm not putting all of this in here because it's about 4 or 5 pages. This lists every single fund that the city is required to budget for. Our projected beginning balances for July 1st, 2021. We won't actually know those numbers until we complete our audit later this fall. Estimated revenues, be they taxes, assessments, or non-tax sources. Transfers in, transfers out, budgeted expenditures. We do have some committed expenditure savings that we work with departments in the general fund to acquire. And then at the bottom there will be our total appropriations for the year.
And Ms. Griffin, we're not seeing your screen if you're intending us to.
Oh no, I'm so sorry for that. Quick run through again, and yeah, apologies for
Thank you.
not having that up there. So here's my presentation. We will also post this to the website. These were the baseline changes, new requests, and community investment program snippets to let folks know what was included in that executive budget. A list of those updates that have happened subsequently. Wanted to draw folks' attention to the budget documents that are posted on our website. If you navigate to the FY22 preliminary budget, these have been updated through this afternoon. So the updates for the mayor's approved budget are in here as well. I wanted to draw folks' attention to the overview of budgeted resources. This is just a snippet. And this ties into the appropriations resolution that City Council passes tonight. Which brings me to the resolutions that we're asking City Council to pass tonight for budget approval. Our appropriations resolution is our big budget resolution. This fixes the annual appropriations and capital improvement or community investment program for the city as set forth in the FY22 budget. This also includes work plans and budgets for the Tourism Business Improvement District, the Business Improvement District, the Park District, and Road District number 1. They're both number 1. We also have fee increase resolutions. We have 3 of these. We are increasing each of these sections of fees by 3%, just to sort of keep up with some inflationary increases. Business licensing, fire inspection, and police and special event fees, and wastewater industrial interceptor variance permit. We also have resolutions for some tax levies and assessments. Tonight, we have resolutions for general and special taxes for municipal and administrative purposes. These are setting those tax levies. We also want to levy taxes on each parcel within the Downtown Business Improvement District to the tune of just under $386,000, as well as assessments on hotels located in the Tourism Business Improvement District. And those are at $2 per occupied room per night. Now, next week, our city clerk will be bringing to us the assessments for the road and park districts. Those need to happen 1 week apart. And that concludes my presentation. Sorry for not getting it up there first.
Mayor, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Griffin, and my apologies for that. And at this point, Ms. Jones, would you like to make a motion or two?
I will. I've got a list of motions to read. I'll just make my way through them and then some more information after that. I would like to make the recommended motion that we adopt a resolution of the Missoula City Council increasing fees by 3% for business licensing services performed by Community Planning, Development, and Innovation, as shown in Exhibit A, effective January 1st, 2022. I'd like to make the motion that the recommended motion that we adopt a resolution of the Missoula City Council increasing fire inspection, plan checking, pyrotechnic display, and police and special event fees, increasing fees by 3% effective January 1st, 2022, as shown in Exhibit B and C. I move that we adopt a resolution of the Missoula City Council increasing the wastewater industrial interceptor variance permit fee set forth in 13.07.410 Missoula Municipal Code and the waste hauler permit fee set forth in 13.17.210 Missoula Municipal Code by 3% beginning January 1st, 2022. I move that we adopt a resolution fixing the annual appropriations for the city of Missoula as set forth in the fiscal year 2022 budget and community improvement plan, including the Tourism Business Improvement District Work Plan and Budget for fiscal year 2022, the Business Improvement District Work Plan and Budget for fiscal year 2022, the Park District number 1 Work Plan and Budget for fiscal year 2022, and the Road District number 1 Work Plan and Budget for fiscal year 2022. I move that we adopt a resolution levying taxes for municipal and administrative purposes for the fiscal year 2022. I move that we adopt a resolution levying taxes on the lots, pieces, and parcels of land located in the Downtown Business Improvement District of the City of Missoula for fiscal year 2022 in accordance with 7-12-1132 Montana Code Annotated. I move that we adopt a resolution levying annual assessments on the hotels located in the Tourism Business Improvement District of the City of Missoula for fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $2 per occupied room night in accordance with 7-12-1132 Missoula Code, Montana Code Annotated. And I'm thinking that probably needs to be for fiscal year 2022, not 2021, if that is a typo there. I will note that. And then just to be comprehensive, I move that we adopt the mayor's executive budget as proposed. And I have some changes to incorporate that I will add to my motion. Number one, in the Community Planning and Development Department, that we add $5,000 to the Climate Smart Annual Grant to bring the annual contribution from the city to Climate Smart up to $35,000, which then equals a city contribution to Home Resource. This is an ongoing line item from the general fund. Number two, in the city council budget, to add $5,000 to fund Commissioner Strohmeyer's, County Commissioner Strohmeyer's request for contribution to the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority for socioeconomic study. This is a one-time line item from ARPA funds. And number three, in the fire department and police departments, to amend the budget for each of these departments to add $20,000 to each for partial supplement of baseline requests. This is ongoing line item to be pulled from the general fund. Number four, in the Community Planning and Development Department, to fund a request for $23,000 for tourist home research, data gathering, and policy review. This is a one-time contribution to be funded either under ARPA or pulled from the fund balance to be determined in that priority sequencing though. Number five, in the Community Planning and Development Department, to add $100,000 of capacity to the Energy Conservation and Climate Action section to go towards executing policy initiatives. This is a one-time line item to be pulled from the fund balance. And finally, the last item is number six, regarding the communications, $100,000, which is in the budget in the mayor's department, to modify the purpose, to not do a survey, but instead to do a comprehensive strategic communications plan for the city that encompasses all three branches of government. And after the initial planning process takes place in the next few months, to then use the great majority of it, the remainder of the 100,000, to go towards execution of the master plan for communications for the remainder of the fiscal year. This is a one-time item to be pulled from the fund balance. And I do want to speak to these, but I'm assuming that you want to take public comment first. So tell me when I may.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Those motions are all in order and our public hearing remains open. If anyone would care to comment on any of the parts and pieces of the fiscal year 2022 budget, this is your opportunity to do so. Again, inviting any public comment on the budget this evening. And seeing none, we'll have council deliberations. Ms. Jones, I will close the public hearing. And Ms. Jones.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a few minutes to comment. First of all, I appreciated the entire budget presentations this summer and the incredible thought and deliberation that goes into creating our budget, which takes a lot of time. And there's a lot of moving pieces. But specifically regarding these changes that I've tacked on at the end, I wanted to just give some explanation regarding them. The $5,000 for Climate Smart, when this was initiated in the last few years, it was supposed to be 35,000 each to Climate Smart and to Home Resource, and there was an error. So it's been 30,000 instead of 35,000. So that's basically some housekeeping to bring that up to par. Commissioner Strohmeyer's request for the contribution of the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority for a socioeconomic study. The reason why Council is interested in doing this is that under the ARPA documentation that has come out, there is great potential now for passenger rail in Montana. And by taking this kind of action, it can better our chance of possibly getting passenger rail. So based on that, we are requesting that. The fire department and police department, we're working hard to not raise mills this year. Accordingly, we wanted to supplement their baseline budget, which was a request, but we were unable to do the entire amount, but we felt that adding 20,000 to each would help and was helpful for their budgets. So that is a small contribution, but still keeps mill levies flat. The 23,000 for tourist home research, data gathering, and policy review is one time. There is a lot of discussion these days about affordable housing in Missoula. And I think that tourist homes, frankly, are a small piece of the pie that has created the affordable housing issues that we face. But it is a piece of the pie. And by gathering the data, we will have a much better sense of to what degree it is a component and what recommendations there will be that we can take to better the situation. So it's really, let's get the information in to see if we should do something and what we should do. And it's frankly a lot more complicated than that, but in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. Adding some money to increase the capacity of energy conservation and climate action. We have great plans in place. Frankly, we need to execute on them more. And, we just spent a summer inhaling smoke. So it's clearly an issue. I think we always want to do more, but when we are able to put money towards that and increase the capacity, that's a good thing to do. So that's the rationale there. And then finally, communications. We're not changing that budget amount, but we are just changing the implementation of it to a degree. Council just wanted to move it along. We've talked about communications for years now, and we need more communications. There's a lot of good things the city's doing, and it needs to be communicated better. And I think the more we communicate, the more we get constructive feedback in, and it's a much better process all around. So this is taking a step down that path, and we just wanted to just clarify that we really wanted to go forward with this. Instead of doing a survey, we can just start going forward and doing some more execution on an action plan. So I'm happy to answer any questions regarding these items, and do not want to eclipse all of the good stuff going on in the main budget. And the mayor can always speak to that too. But lots of good things as we are trying to address this pandemic that's going on in our world, keep everything balanced. And I appreciate all of the work that's gone into that in terms of health department and all of our first responders and all of that. It takes a huge amount of work. So that's what I got to say. There you go.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Further discussion, Ms. West.
I'm a little nervous that my hand's the only hand up right now. There's Heather. All right, perfect. I just wanted to say that I support all of the additions that Gwen just mentioned, especially those around climate. I think that we have a lot of great resolutions in place and a lot of good intent, and I think it's really important that we figure out how to turn those into policy. I think there's no better time than now, because we're always playing catch up on climate. I also just briefly wanted to mention the tourist home study. I think it's a vital piece in understanding our housing situation, I do think it also calls into question a bigger philosophy on city government and whether or not we are going to proactively police city ordinances. We typically now only act on a complaint based system, whether that's people parking their campers in the public right of way or vacation homes. And I think there is a shift potentially here on how we enforce our ordinances that we should be aware of. But data is super important in making that decision on whether or not that is, if it's the right time to make this shift. So, and lastly, I just briefly wanted to mention one item that isn't currently funded, but we've heard a lot of public comment on, that being the position of the director for the Public Art Committee. I think that that this is something, having been the person, I guess the council rep to the art committee, I do think that this is something that's needed in the near future. I think at the moment, maybe there are too many interpretations of what that means, and we need to narrow down what exactly the role of that individual would be. And hopefully, since the art committee just went through a strategic planning process, that can be formalized, and maybe we can revisit this in the near future. So I think that's where I'll leave it. I think this is a pretty exciting budget with a lot of one-time opportunities that we probably aren't going to see again. So thanks.
And Ms. Hart. Ms. Hart, you're muted.
Thanks. Looking at my notes from our budget meetings, Gwen, I was struggling to find in my notes the policy initiatives for CPDI's Department on Energy and Climate. Can you elaborate a little bit more? Because either my memory has forgotten it entirely or I just can't find it in my notes. This was for 100,000.
Right. So that was not initiated by that department. That is a council initiated request.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on that, since it wasn't part of any of the presentations?
Sure. So we've got some great policies in place with our energy, climate and conservation plans. But there is a need for extra capacity to execute on them. I would love to be hiring an FTE or 2 FTEs, but the budget, as we all know, is a delicate process, and trying to keep mill levies flat and not increase it too much. Instead, there was a lot of discussion to instead do a one-time funded monies that can go towards execution on different initiatives based on staff recommendations. So I think this is something that staff in CPDI and Lee Ratterman and Montana James will discuss how best to put this to use to get some more initiatives going forward more quickly, because clearly climate change is not going to wait for us. So that's the impetus.
Okay, thank you. And Gwen, I think maybe if you could also elaborate upon your 6th item for the strategic communications plan.
Sure. So if you look in the budget proposal, there was already in the mayor's department a $100,000 for a line item for communications. And it was divided up in that $50,000 was to go to a survey, to survey the community to see how they would like to be communicated with. And the other $50,000 was to go towards special engagement projects. And some discussion amongst some counselors that, frankly, we don't really need the survey. We need to start doing more communication. So this was to push that down the road a little bit quicker. And if you talk to communications people in the field, they say, yeah, you don't really need the survey as much. there's a lot of what you need is to have a strategic approach and then execute it. And my understanding is last year the county did a very similar survey on communications, so we can take that information, incorporate it into whoever does the comprehensive plan and use that information. So that was the rationale.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
And Ms. Cheryl.
Thanks. I am going to be supporting the budget as well as Ms. Jones' amendments. I think that we started with a really strong budget that supported all the initiatives that we talk about throughout the year. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy about the changes as we've evolved and done all of these different presentations with the different departments. I'm really happy with some of the changes that the mayor has made. I'm also really happy about the ARPA funds that we have, because we are going to get a lot of really good work done. That's going to be a bit of a lifesaver in sending us, kind of catapulting us forward in the right direction. So I agree with the things my fellow counselors have said. I think that this is a strong budget. I think that it does all the things that we say we're going to do, and I'm happy to support it.
And Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to gauge the council interest on an amendment, and then I have some comments. So wanted to gauge the interest actually on adding a second full-time employee to the police department in the corporal position. I know that the PD was very, I don't know, I guess I would say passionate about adding that, and wanted to gauge your interest for doing so. And if so, I do have some funding recommendations, but wanted to gauge that first.
And Mr. Ramos, I'll just suggest that because this budget allows for us to hire reserve officers to serve as bailiffs in the court, the police department will in effect have one FTE returned from that service out of the court and back into general circulation. So I proposed funding one corporal position, and then the chief can use that additional body that he hasn't had because it's been devoted to the courts for another promotion.
Okay. Well, I guess we can kind of play it by ear too and see how that works, but just hearing some feedback from different officers that might not be the case, but I guess we can always revisit next year.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Ramos?
Yeah, just some general. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some general comments about the budget. First, I wanted to touch on the special districts. This is my last year on council, so I might as well go out with a bang once again by explaining what districts are and why I believe, and there was a healthy debate at the state legislature about these very districts this last session, but to me, these districts are simply a way of us avoiding the cap set by the state legislature. These districts were created in 2010, first levied in 2011. The Park District was first levied at $200,000, and the Road District was first levied at $300,000. These districts were created by sending mailers, postcards, whatever you want to call them, to every property owner in the city. And if enough of those property owners did not respond, saying that they did not want the district created, it was created automatically. This was not a ballot initiative of any sort. And today, the road district, again, 10 years ago, first levied at $300,000. That was now levied today. What we're proposing is $5.7 million, over 2,000% increase, average over 80% per year. The Park District was first levied at $200,000. Today, we're levying it at $3.3 million, again, representing an increase of over 70%, over 2,000% over those 10 years. And to me, there's nothing special about these districts. And again, this is something that the legislature debated heavily, and I assume they're going to be debating again, but it's every single taxable property in the city is included in these districts. So what exactly makes them special? And again, I think that the state legislature, maybe not this last session, they didn't have the initiative, but if we don't kind of fix ourselves and police ourselves, the legislature is going to fix this problem for us. And I'm not going to be on council for that. But just like the gas tax and some other things, I have a feeling that if we don't start to moderate ourselves with this, there's going to be some moderation put in place for us. I mean, we saw Senator Hertz's bill, which set the cap at half the rate of inflation, which would be a big hit to what we've been doing currently with this. So just wanted to touch base, of course, on those special districts. Wanted to touch base on the fees increases and the permitting increases. Again, the corporations do not pay any taxes. The only people that pay taxes, this includes developers, are either the customers pay it with higher prices or the employees pay it with lower wages. Now, I know my friends on the other side of the aisle acknowledged this when President Trump put some tariffs on China, and they said ultimately those corporations would not pay those taxes. It would be the consumer that paid those taxes. I agree with that 100%, but I don't understand why domestically, both at the local and federal level, we're okay with raising the corporate income tax, talking about these different permits which are paid by corporations and these different fees for different businesses in the city, when ultimately we know it's just a sneaky way to tax the individual. But in any case, I digress. So in my opinion, this budget once again prioritizes government and the bureaucracy of government over the people that we represent. I know I have some philosophical differences with my fellow colleagues and you, Mr. Mayor, on this, but that is what I feel, and that's something I've been very consistent about during my tenure on council. One of my colleagues made the comment that seemed to imply that if we don't vote for the budget, that we don't support anything in the budget, in particular the Mobile Crisis Response Unit. That couldn't be any further from the truth. Just because I don't support some of the poison pills that I believe are poison pills within this bill doesn't mean that I don't support different aspects of the budget. In fact, I think this budget does a lot of good, and I've been vocal about that during my time on council. But I think this sentiment by one of my colleagues really speaks to, I think, the problem with politics. I mean, this is a bipartisan issue, believe me. In 2019, the Senate and Congress enacted a COVID relief bill that was 5,000 pages long, and they only had a few hours to read it. I know AOC agreed with me on this, and many people agreed. 5,000 pages long. Unbelievable. One of my favorite books, actually, is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and that is a very, very long book. Great book, but very long. It's about 1,200 pages. So the COVID relief bill that was voted on without people reading it, that goes to this mindset of if you don't vote for something, you don't support anything that's in it, was 5 times longer than Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. And I think that this piece of legislation really speaks to that on a micro level. It's not 5,000 pages long, it's hundreds of pages long. And I would bet that a vast majority of my colleagues and citizens actually have not read this in its entirety. And again, this went along the budget process of only reviewing in our public meetings the increases in the budget, not the whole budget in its entirety and past and present expenditures by those departments, as long as they were approved in years past or decades past. As far as property taxes goes, to allege that taxes are not being raised is just not true. And I understand that even last year the county was straight up about it, and they said that they actually were raising taxes, just not the mills levied. They were levying more dollars out of those mills, and they were very, very straightforward to that effect. So just to again reiterate, because I'm not sure if anybody will do this once I'm gone, the way property taxes are valued is there's the market value that's set by the Department of Revenue. That market value for residential properties is multiplied by 1.39%, giving you your taxable value. You divide that number by 1,000, and that's the value of a mill. And that mill is then multiplied by, the value of that mill is multiplied by how many mills the city is levying, and I get that we have a formula to kind of make the special districts more equal to the mills. I think that is an imperfect formula, but I think it's good enough. In any event, if the value of the market goes up by 12% as the average rate of our mill went up this year, which increased 12%, then those formulas correlate, that variable correlates directly in that formula, meaning your tax bill at the end of the year, if we don't lower mills levied down to the level that they were equivalent at before, then we're in effect raising taxes by 12%. And again, the county has been straightforward about this, and I hope that we can be a little bit more straightforward with that. I get that there's expenses and various other things that happen, But at the end of the day, we have new development, which is supposed to supplement that, and then in turn, fund various improvements that have to be made in a direct correlation with the inflationary costs of having a city that continually progresses and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Market values will adjust for some of that, but not to this extent. So to blame the DOR is just not true, because at the end of the day, we control the amount of currency that we are charging for people to live here. So value of dollar goes up, we can essentially lower our mills levied, our cost to live in this city equivalent. Let me see here. And so obviously there's many things in this budget that I continue not to support, things that I think actually do more harm than good for the people we represent. I don't think it prioritizes infrastructure, police, fire, various basic needs, some things that I've always talked about, and I don't need to hammer them out again today. So with all due respect, I will not be supporting this budget because I believe it does raise taxes in effect. And all the various other points that I have made, I think, just speak to my general dislike of the budget, and something I'm not going to change the minds of folks for by going on and on again, like I've done in years past. So with all due respect, I will not be supporting, and thank you for the time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos. Ms. West.
So I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I was wondering, for those that were tracking budget discussions during committees, I think last week there was a lot of discussion around the urban forest. And I was hoping, I just want to make sure that people know we haven't forgotten the urban forest between last week and today. And I was hoping that maybe someone could speak to what requests are being funded and how, I guess, how we're reaching those goals that we discussed last week. Gwen, I'm not sure who best to field that question.
I can, if I may, I can answer one main component that Donna Gockler, head of parks, asked for in terms of urban forest capacity was a grapple truck, which helps take down trees and plant trees and creates much better efficiency, which the more we can work on that, the more we can get closer to basically breaking even in terms of replacing all trees, planting new trees to replace all trees taken out. And that's our goal, where we want to be. So the grapple truck, a new grapple truck would be quite expensive, but for half the price, a grapple boom can be purchased and affixed to an existing truck that we already have. And that is in the recommended budget.
And Ms. West, Ms. Gockler is here if you need additional detail.
It was mostly for the benefit of the public, and I think my understanding is that most of this would be coming from Park District fund balance, which I guess highlights the importance of having districts as a resource for our community.
Thank you. Mr. Hess.
Thanks, Mayor. The special district conversation is smoke and mirrors in my mind, and it is a diversion from the complete budget picture. Setting the increase in taxes at half the rate of inflation is designed to strangle local government out of existence. Full stop. It is designed to reduce the size of government, and it should be exposed for what it is. Reducing the increase in government expenditures to half the rate of inflation means that you do less over time because you can afford to do less over time. And that's what it is designed to do. And when Mr. Ramos talks about special districts, he glosses over that point. This is a local government that should not be strangled out of existence. This is a local government that provides medical aid and fire protection through the fire department. This is a local government that sends a police officer to your door or a mobile support team member to your door when you're having the worst day of your life. This is a local government that maintains our streets and roads. It's a local government that plows snow and patches potholes and provides safe and efficient transportation features for kids, for grandparents, for everyone in our community. This is a local government that preserves open space, that provides parkland and playgrounds, that provides kids camps, This is a local government that makes sure that we have clean water when we turn on the tap and that we have clean rivers, despite the fact that we're all flushing our toilets. And this is a local government that composts our waste and plants trees. This is a local government that provides tremendous value. And to say that it is reasonable to restrict the growth of local government to half the rate of inflation when election after election, our residents show up and say that they value the services that we provide and that they want more services is frankly irresponsible. I appreciate the philosophical difference here, but I have to point out that this is a local government that provides value, and this body, the City Council, is elected to be stewards of public funds, and stewards we are. And this is a good budget that is a transformative budget. I want to zoom out for a moment. This is my 8th budget as a council member, and this will be the most impactful, transformative budget that I will have the pleasure of voting for. This budget will make an impact in our community. It will do the work that matters. It will make a difference, and it will be transformative. This budget supports our first responders through investments in radio communications to the tune of several $million. It makes investments to our mobile support team, which had incredible public support through last year's budget cycle, and has been on the ground doing good work for almost a year now. This budget makes real substantive investments in the creation of affordable housing through a $2.7 million infusion into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We, by ordinance, have to put $100,000 in. We're putting 27 times that much in to fund our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This budget enables the city to take on a comprehensive rewrite of our zoning code and our regulatory framework. It's a big deal. It's going to modernize our zoning code and support the orderly, predictable development of our growing community. It will streamline some of the regulations, which will save costs while for people that are developing housing, and simultaneously it'll improve public development processes and maintain our high standards of quality. It'll build infrastructure that serves our community by supporting the deployment of the Mullen Area Build Grant, and it'll support vulnerable members of our community through important investments in homelessness initiatives. It takes this is a budget that I couldn't be more proud to support, and I think that this budget demonstrates what incredible value our residents get for their tax dollar. One thing that I'll agree with on this budget is that it with Mr. Ramos perhaps is that this budget exposes some real problems, or it continues to expose some real problems in the incredibly limited, uncreative framework that our state legislature has given us for funding local government. We are in a state where we have less and less and less industrial and commercial property tax revenues. And that's not a result of declining industry. That's a result of our legislature reducing taxes on businesses that have shifted the tax burden to residential uses. So residential taxes are going up while commercial and industrial taxes are going down, and that is translated to local property tax bills. And our legislature has remained uncreative, and they have failed to address what is becoming a burgeoning property tax crisis in our state. So meanwhile, municipalities have important work to do, and this budget does important work. And I hope that this budget is a further impetus for residents to contact their state legislators and ask them for meaningful reform to property taxes, to ask them for meaningful reform to how cities and counties are able to get the work that they need to do done. I guess we'll continue to have that conversation as the next legislative session nears. But what we're adopting tonight is impactful. It is transformative. It is a good budget, and I am proud to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Ms. Becerra.
I should know by now not to go after my ward mate, Mr. Hess, because he couldn't have said it better. I just want to point out that I believe one of the most important jobs that we have as city councilors is is to ensure that our budget reflects the values of our community. And I feel strongly that this budget is a good reflection of the values that we hear constantly from our community, ensuring that the funding is equitably distributed throughout departments so that they can touch on all the different aspects of our community and the needs that we see day to day. So I am fully supportive of this budget. I also want to point out that while we saw some incredible need and some really good arguments for funding some other requests, that my hope is that with the ARPA funding that we are receiving now, we're able to in the future fund those other requests. I think we're making great progress ensuring that our community gets the services that it needs and it deserves. And so I am fully supportive of this budget. Thank you.
And Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And like Ms. Becerra, I time and time again learned my lesson to not go after Mr. Hess. So I would love to be able to just say, can you repeat all that, please, Jordan? But I won't. I just thank you for highlighting that and really kind of bringing us back out to the larger vision that what this budget funds. And it is about people, and it is about trying to establish, on council, we are constantly trying to thread the needle between, being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars as well as providing basic services. And that has, evolved over time as more pressure has been put on us at the municipal level as they continue to make cuts to various services at the state level. And, that's one of the impetuses for us to start the mobile support unit. And we are making a significant increase into that this year because it has been so successful and it has been supported by the community and it is making a direct difference in people's lives. So this budget is about people. I also think that this budget is sort of an example of taking lemons and turning them into lemonade. None of us could have foreseen the pandemic and the impact it would have in our community. And thankfully, through President Biden and the senators and House members in DC who voted for ARPA funding, we have the opportunity to do some really impactful one-time projects that is really taking the lemons that the pandemic has given us and is making lemonades. We're giving we are working with the Poverello Senator and using county and city ARPA money to put $3.5 million into establish veteran supportive housing. That is a direct impact on people in our community, the people who have served us so proudly and deserve us looking out for them. We are taking $72,000 of ARPA funding and putting to support access for summer and after school programs. That has a direct impact on people in our community and families in our community in a time when childcare is hard to find and very expensive. This is a way in which we have been able to be creative with the funding we have to really directly impact and support the people who call Missoula home. There is numerous examples of that. Like Mr. Hess said, we are making a one-time $2.7 million investment in our Affordable Housing Trust Fund that will give us the flexibility to directly impact affordability in this community. One of the number one concerns that people say when they talk about what our challenges are here in Missoula is the affordability of living here, and having something like an affordable housing trust fund and having dollars in there is a direct impact and investment in people in our community. We're also investing in the people who serve our community. We are streamlining and adding capacity to climate action team and that department, because all of us firsthand, real day-to-day have seen the impacts of climate change in our community. Me and my skis, we're very sad that we had a very, drought winter, but it's not just so much about me personally. The impacts of that climate change and that drought led to a summer where we had smoke starting the 4th of July. The entire practically summer season, when all of us love to get outside, I had to weigh whether or not going outside was worth the impact to me and breathing in all of those smoke particles. So we're making investments, and that invests in people in our community. We're investing in the people who serve our community by adding additional dollars to the police and fire department. Those folks have been out day to day, front line in our community. They don't get to zoom in for their jobs. They are out there and facing, what may come, and they do it proudly, and we are continuing to invest in them. The city is growing, the demands on their services are increasing, and so this I thank everyone for supporting the additional increase in the baseline in both the city and the fire department and the police department. So I really think that, despite what my colleagues say, that this budget really is a reflection of investment in people in our community. And I think I have spent a lot of time over my 4 years on council talking about property taxes and the components that go into it, and really a basic lack of understanding. Because yes, Mr. Ramos is right. The Department of Revenue sets the taxable rate, not the market rate. So for my house, that's about a $200,000 difference between what my marketable rate is and what my taxable rate is. What I could sell my house for today is very different than what my taxable value is. So all those things that we've been highlighting, and all the things that Mr. Hess so eloquently said that we are investing in and that the city provides, is provided to me, and my portion of my share of that is $1,500. That is what my taxable, if you look at my property taxes, what I pay to the city general fund. So I get all of that. And the privilege of living here in Missoula and knowing that I'm investing in this community, I'm investing in the people who are my fellow citizens, and for what I think is, money well spent. So, and this budget is doing all of that and a whole lot more that we didn't get highlighted to today, and we're not raising mills. And there are 4 main components of what goes into property taxes. There's what the Department of Revenue says is your house's, taxable value, and then there's 3 separate jurisdictions that vote independently to decide what their mill rate is. So I think that to imply that property taxes is the sole component of what is making Missoula not affordable, and that we are the sole responsible, is incredibly misleading to the public. And I just want to take this opportunity to kind of, in what little ways I can, clarify that. And thank you so much to all of my other fellow council members and to all of the departments for all the work that you do for our city and for our community. And especially hats off to Lee and Dale for shepherding us through this budget process and presenting us with the information that we need to make really informed decisions. So thanks so much.
Ms. Hart.
Thank you. I've been thinking about this for a bit, and like a number of my colleagues, we've been studying taxation in the state of Montana, and really nothing has really changed much since our Constitution enacted what it did in 1972. The fact that we are purposefully limited to half of inflation is just a conundrum to me. I don't know what business or nonprofit or educational institution would be able to survive if they could only inflate their costs, or their expenses, if you will, by half of the inflation. I know in my work life, if construction materials go up 600% and I can only raise the cost of the houses I sell by 300%, I lose out. And that is just not a way you run a business. Certainly should not be a way that you run a local government. I'm reminded by an expression a former boss of mine told me when I was a financial planner. Cost matters in the absence of value. And I can tell you, having done this now 4 times, our department heads and our executive understand what value is. Now, sometimes that value may fall on us when we may not need those particular services, but the odds are, whether we are young, middle-aged, or old, or bringing up someone else, that we're going to need the services that our local government provides. And I think that was really highlighted well in our Local Government Citizens Academy, where we really get to hear those folks sing their swan song and talk about what their department does. And I won't re-articulate what Jordan all said, but at the end of the day, these are all public servants trying to do the very best for all of us in this community that we all love. And I'm in full support of this budget.
Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to clarify a couple of things. First and foremost, I just wanted to say that I, believe it or not, will miss these budget meetings and these council meetings, because I do have a lot of respect for my colleagues, even though I don't agree with them on everything. I know in the bottom of my heart they're trying to do the best thing that they can for their citizens, and I hope that they feel the same way about me, because that's all I'm trying to do as well. I agree that all the things that Mr. Hess talked about are very important, from infrastructure to public safety. But one thing that I did want to bring up is that there's different ways to go about these funding, and I don't think that anybody in the state legislature is advocating for less infrastructure, less public safety. I think they're advocating for a little bit more transparency around how these funds are raised, and various other types of I think disagreements generally. I think Mr. Hess is right about the size of government, that there are certain things that the local government believes are left to the private sector, certain things that folks believe are left to the public sector. But that doesn't mean that they don't agree that all those things should be done. I think that there's a big philosophical debate about taxation, which I'm happy to have that discussion with my colleagues at any time, and the coercive nature of it. I wanted to address Ms. Anderson's point that I understand that what she's saying, the market value is different than what the market value is under the DOR's appraised value, but at the end of the day, it is referred to as the market value that the DOR sets, and then the taxable value is derived from the equation of taking the market value from the DOR appraisal, multiplying that by whatever multiplicative factor it is. It's different between business and local government, or business and residential, and then that gives you the taxable value. So what the appraisal sets, the DOR sets, is actually referred to as the market value, even though, again, I understand what you're saying, that you could sell your home for more than what the DOR appraises it at, but the taxable value is completely separate. But I think I just wanted to kind of wrap up my general comments about this budget, that, again, I come from the philosophy that we can't tax ourselves into prosperity. I mean, I know that we talk about all these different limits that are set by various entities on our taxing, but I just wanted to ask my colleagues, I mean, what is enough? I mean, how much money would it take to achieve everything that we want to achieve? And at that point, would we not want to raise taxes anymore? Or would we continue to need more revenue to fund more things? I just don't want us to create these insolvable problems trying to achieve a utopia that will never really exist. I mean, we could have a sales tax, we could have a city income tax, we could have all these different taxes, and we could be like California, and each and every year those different places talk about how they need more and more and more and more and more. Meanwhile, their citizens are struggling, they're hurting, they're continuing to struggle, and their lives are not actually improving in those different districts. So I just ask people to take a retrospective look and say, what is enough? Well, if we could raise taxes as much as we wanted to, how much would that be? If we could have income tax in the city, would we do that? If we could have a sales tax in the city, would we do that? And what would we do for that? And at what point would it be enough? Is there ever any enough? And can we always make everybody happy? I don't think that we can, but I think that we can get out of the way and allow these different people to make their own decisions, and different nonprofits and other groups to come in and fill the gaps that are otherwise left in the void of not taxing people to the point that we are today. So just wanted to add those clarifications. And again, I will miss my time on council, and this is certainly a bittersweet moment for me as the last budget as a council member. But thank you all for your time. Just wanted to clarify a few things. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me additional time.
And Ms. Anderson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I do think the one thing that Mr. Ramos and I do agree on is the need to diversify our income stream in the city, but how we go about doing that, I think, is where we would differ. So I just quickly would be remiss without, and thank you for the extra time, pointing out how pleased I am about what we're doing around the parks and the Parks Special District, and how this is an opportunity to, once again, I feel like this budget theme is lemons and lemonade, to take some of the fund balance, as Donna Gockler, who is the head of Parks and Recreation, pointed out last week, that we have a bit of money sitting in that Parks Fund because of a variety of things of not being able to fill various positions. And so we're taking that opportunity to utilize those for some really big structural impacts. And I feel like my entire time I have been on council, I have been advocating for the redo of the Maryland Park Sports Courts. Maryland Park's the biggest park in Ward 5. It gets tons of use from not only people who live here in this part of town, but from many others. And this budget, through the opportunity to do a little bit of spending down in the Parks Fund, does allow for some opportunities to fix some of those infrastructure pieces that are really important to our community. And I think that we have all highlighted at various points over the last year and a half about the need for open space and parks, and how that has just been a lifeline for so many members of our community during the pandemic, to get out and be able to see friends in a safe way. Maryland Park, almost every day I drive by it, and it has some birthday party or some sort of family gathering, and people are being able to do that safely and still have that human contact. So really excited about that opportunity. And I think that once again, we are trying to balance the need of fiscal responsibility, which I think we are achieving with, the growing demands in our community. So wanted to point that out and thank folks for supporting that.
Ms. Jones.
There we go. Thanks. I just briefly wanted to again say thanks for a great budget, Mr. Mayor. And I was very focused on amendments, so I'm glad that people spoke to all of the broad sweeping strokes that are in there with the great stuff that is being done, since we have this silver lining in a pandemic to have this money coming in that can truly move the needle in certain areas. I too hope we get tax reform at some point from a thoughtful legislature, because frankly, they have set up an unsustainable system for us, which I never quite get what the long run goal is when it's an unsustainable trajectory, but that's exactly what the legislature is doing. And it's as if I just never can wrap my mind around it, because I think we need our local services. It is a huge impact on our quality of life. So I've talked about it for years that we need thoughtful tax reform, and we have a lot of needs in this community. Life never gets simpler, it gets more complicated. So that's where local government can pick up the slack in terms of quality of life. And I hope we start taking some dollars out of tourist pockets at some point, because guess what? There's a lot of them there and we're missing out on all of that. But to our local legislators, you always know where to find me, and I've given you plenty of opinions on this. And Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say that I believe that Lee Griffin has to, prior to any vote on this budget, I think she wanted to repost the amendments, something along that line. So just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
And seeing Ms. Merrick.
Thank you. All my colleagues have highlighted the great things that are in this budget, and I am well in support of it. One of the things that has jumped out at me over the years as we've gone through this budget process is the amazing expertise that we have in the heads of our departments and the staff members who come and present information to us, and the work that they do with the money that we budget to their departments. We've looked at things like the streets division, where I think they wring $3 out of every dollar we give them sometimes, because they make everything, they take every bit of it and make it work. I feel like they are always under-resourced, and some of these areas where our citizens and our residents want us and have expressed openly that they want us to do more, not less. They want us to do more. And that's what the great people on our staff have done. And I one of the things I have appreciated about serving on city council is those great folks that the mayor has brought to the heads of those departments. So Mayor, thank you for your hard work in finding those great people that do good work for us. There are many highlights in this budget that others have spoken to that I think really do speak to the values that are important to this community, and very happy to support that. We need housing across the spectrum, and the changes to our housing code is going to help, hopefully, some of the costs associated with the missing middle that we need to build, and the investment in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is going to help with housing at the lower end. The safety of our community through the very large increase to the mobile support team's budget is huge, and all of the effort that the fire department has put in making that happen. I appreciate that. And I'm leaving a lot of folks out that I would like to thank for the hard work that they do with those. It's our city staff. And on the important thing about that as well is that we need to pay those people well. And that's an important aspect. Our city staff do good work for us, and they deserve a wage that allows them to live in this community. So I think that this budget accomplishes those things. It provides some emphasis on climate change that is very important that we act on that. So I'm in support. I want to thank everyone for all the hard work, and Gwen and Stacy and Brian and Jordan and Amber, I'm sure, who have worked hard to make those last minute budget amendments, and I support every one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Merritt, and thank all of you. Seeing no further discussion, Ms. Griffin, would you like to give us a grand total based on amendments this evening?
Certainly. So we have updated the resolutions, and the appropriations are now estimated at $244,014,020.
And thank you, Ms. Griffin. And with that, we have motions on the floor. We've had a public hearing and robust discussion, and we will have votes on the motions before the body.
Okay, just to clarify, this is on all of the motions before the body?
Yes.
Thank you. So let's start this round with Harp.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
No.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
No.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And Becerra.
Yes.
And would any of you like to change your vote? That is 8 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 absent.
And with that, we have a municipal budget for fiscal year 22. Thank you all very much. And thanks again to Lee and Dale and all of our staff. As some of my council colleagues pointed out this evening, we have a great team here at the city of Missoula, and we're lucky to have these public servants at our disposal to do the great work that is expected from our residents and the work that they deserve. I will pass on communications from the mayor this evening and move to general comments from council members, beginning with Ms. Merritt.
It's always the bingo of who gets to go first. I just want to remind folks that Missoula County Public Schools is starting in session next week. So watch out for kids at bus stops, and good luck to everyone in this coming school year. I am grateful to Superintendent Watson for the decision and the Superintendent Watson and the school board for their decision to mandate masks in Missoula County Public Schools for the first 6 weeks of the school year. And that is a step that is important for the protection of our students and staff at the school. So I'm grateful that they took that step. Thanks.
And Mr. Reynolds.
I will pass tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Ms. Jones.
Thanks. I will just say briefly that I know several people right now who were vaccinated and have still contracted COVID. So the Delta variant is highly transmissible. Our hospitals are full. So please stay socially distant. And it was great not wearing a mask for a few months, but I've had to pull out all of my masks, and we're back at it and putting on a mask every time I go indoors someplace. So everybody, please be careful out there. And we're back in the tunnel. So let's ride it out. The sooner we do, the sooner we'll be out. Thanks.
And Ms. Cheryl.
Thanks. I want to repeat something that Gwen just said. Our hospitals are full. That affects everyone. If you have a heart attack, if you're in a car accident, we really, I say this every week, and I think I'm going to keep saying it. Please go out and get vaccinated. There are a number of people in our community that are not able to be vaccinated, kids. So specifically, I just ask that you get vaccinated, and I appreciate the mayor's comments last week on urging people to do so.
And Ms. Hart.
Like to just mention that this Friday and Saturday is our Roots Festival, our big festival that's been going on for probably 15 years now. Great opportunity to be outside, enjoy one another, and hopefully stay socially distanced from one another, but actually enjoy some music and this cooler weather that we all, I think, appreciate. Thanks.
And Ms. West.
So I just want to let everybody know that the Housing Trust Fund is having an innovation round of funding. I think this is super exciting. We passed the Affordable Housing Trust Fund just over a year ago, and its first round of trial funding is happening now. It opened today. There is going to be a workshop for folks who are interested in participating on Wednesday from 6 to 7:30. It's a Zoom meeting, so hopefully anyone who wants to participate can participate. If you have any questions about it, reach out to our wonderful Housing Trust Fund Administrator, Emily Harris Shears. She would be able to answer any of your questions and direct you where to go. So I hope that this is a success and is just a fraction of what we will realize with this tool at our disposal. So show up.
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I just want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank all employees of the city of Missoula. Budgeting season really gives us a chance to see and highlight all the great work that you do, and it really takes every single one of you, from department heads to clerical staff and every point in between, to really make our community how special it is. And I consider it a true honor to live here and to serve this community, and it definitely takes every single one of you to help make that work. So a sincere thank you. I see several members in the attendance tonight who are city staff, and just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. I also want to thank the general community for uptick in mask wearing. I have definitely seen an increase as I have been out of people wearing masks, and just want to say thank you for that, for protecting your community members, for protecting my family. There are members of my family who can't get vaccinated. My dear sweet mother is immunocompromised. So thank you for stepping up and doing your part and wearing a mask. I'm also seeing a lot more color and deviation in those. So it's, think of it as a fun accessory, and something that's is protecting people you don't know, but who are dearly loved. And to Gwen's point about the Delta variant, don't want her comments to discourage anyone from getting vaccinated. Yes, there are breakthrough cases happening, but the data is supporting that those people are not getting nearly as sick. And that's really what it's all about. As Amber has said, and we have been alerted, our hospitals are filled. And that is so scary because we all know that life happens and people, have medical emergencies and we need to have space for them. And so please, if you are hesitant, the FDA today fully authorized the Pfizer vaccine. So it is no longer in emergency status. It has fully been authorized, just like the flu vaccine, the chickenpox vaccine, the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. So please, if you are hesitant, take this as a sign that it is safe to go forward and get that vaccine and do so to protect yourself, keep yourself out of the hospital. And because, there are people who need that care and need those beds, and we all are in this together. So thank you so much to the Missoula community for doing the right thing.
And Mr. Hess.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to thank Lee Griffin and Dale Bickle for pulling together this budget. It's a heavy lift every year, and this year with all of the ARPA funds and other sources, it is a heavier lift. So thanks to both of them, and thanks to all the department heads and staff that pulled budget proposals together.
And Ms. Wasika.
I'll pass tonight. Thank you.
And Ms. Becerra.
Thank you. I do want to thank Lee and Dale for all your work and guiding us through the budget process. I also want to thank everyone who works for the city. Every year we get presentations from all departments, and I'm always so impressed with the amount of work and the quality of the work that this city provides all its citizens. So big thank you.
And with that, we have no committee reports this evening, nor do we have any items of new business. Are there any additional items to be referred? Seeing none of those, any miscellaneous communications, petitions, reports, or announcements? And seeing none, as always, I thank you for your service, and we will be adjourned.